everybody, give me a nice little audio going into the video here. Oh yeah. Raiders suck.
Flag.
Welcome back to another episode of Backyard Dynasty with your hosts Fleet, Fancy, and Scanny. We got a special one for you guys here. We're doing a little mid-season review, mid-season awards. We're going to cover some MVP, most surprising, most disappointing, Rookie of the Year, and we're going to cover both sides of the ball as well because we're actually football fans here and we take the game seriously. So we're going to touch on offensive and defensive side, and we're going to start. Let's do the MVP first. What do you guys think? You guys want to do some MVP first? Let's start with the MVP. Scanny, why don't you start us off? Who's your offensive MVP so far in fantasy?
An MVP is a player that you can plug into a lineup every single week, and you know you're going to get production every single week. It's come to a point where with this guy, you expect at least 7 catches for 100 yards and maybe even 2 touchdowns. And his name is Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
That Dolphins offense is insane, and he is the centerpiece of it. He creates so much for everybody else. He's kind of like a Steph Curry a little bit. Same effect, you know? He kind of gets gets Waddle open. He gets we got Cedric Wilson. He gets
the running game gets
the
going.
Running game, which we'll mention later. We got Durham Smythe getting targets. So, yeah, it all starts and ends with Tyreek. He is my MVP, and for me, it's not even close.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty easy pick. I mean, him and somebody else that we'll mention here in a second. But I'll go next. I'm going to go with one that maybe not a lot of people would say as their first thought, but I would say from a fantasy standpoint, he is about as elite as they come, and that is Mr. Travis Etienne, running back for the Jags. And I think for me, not only combined with his touchdown production and his opportunity as we have a little flyby on the plane, but combined with the touchdown production and the amount of touches he gets a game, which is probably close to like 25 to 30 touches a game, he also catches the ball. And this week, he actually had a 50-ish yard reception touchdown. And so he contributes in more ways than just one. And he is one of the few, workhorse running backs in the league right now. We were talking about that in the last episode between maybe McCaffrey, Henry, and now Etienne. He's probably one of the few workhorse running backs who is a 3-down back and somebody who is a dual threat as well. So for me, somebody who is a fantasy MVP this year is Travis Etienne.
You know, it's interesting to kind of like expand on your point too. That narrative of like being a workhorse, it wasn't the same at the beginning of the season. There was a lot of hype around Tank Bigsby and saying that like, yo, he's going to eat into Etienne's workload. Yeah. You know, he is a talented young player and there's a lot of hope for him. But with the way Travis has just commanded this backfield, like that narrative is completely deaded. Like this is Travis's backfield.
Yeah.
That's the most. That is the most running back name I've ever heard in my life, though. Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
Tank Bigsby. That man was born to be a running back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just a little bit of stats to back up here. Averaging about 18 points in standard leagues. He's the number 2 running back right now. And my goodness, I mean, carries and receptions combined, he's always over 20 basically. So except for 1 week. So that's my MVP candidate so far.
We got a little live action from Jahmyr Gibbs.
That is.
We mentioned on the previous episode, we're recording another one right now, me and Fleet. Got a very tight matchup featuring Jahmyr Gibbs, Devontae Adams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's the third quarter right now, and Jahmyr Gibbs just ripped off a pretty good little run. So
this week and last week, coming out party for Gibbs.
It is. Mm-hmm. Hey, Monty, get in the back seat, baby. Gibbs driving today.
It was only a matter of time, though, to be fair, right? Or at least that's what we thought.
When Monty gets back, though, like, it's probably going to be Monty.
Yeah.
Jahmyr's probably going to be.
That's fair.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll
Hand
see
it off again.
Keep it back to him. Keep it back to him. Keep going.
Oh,
he's eating.
Goodness.
All right, well, Fancy, what do you got for MVP for us?
My midseason fantasy offensive MVP will have to be, this is such a homer pick for me, but, you know, the proof is in the pudding. He is the number 1 overall running back in all of fantasy, and that's the one and only Christian McCaffrey. He is, man, that like,
It's explain.
It's surreal for me because I own him in another league, so it's like I can have some pride and joy in talking about this. But like I said, the man is the number 1 overall running back. He's averaging about 21 points in standard scoring, and I mean, dude, he's been averaging when it comes to, is that a pick?
Oh,
Is that a pick six? Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters to the
Wow.
house.
Pick six.
Pick 6 to the house.
And that is why we run the football with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wow.
Oh, this just get
Wow.
this is a game.
Yeah, that just turned this game into really something here.
Well, after
Lions
this PAT,
fans are shocked.
after this PAT 14-16, 11:32 left in the third quarter. Ooh,
Wow.
what a game.
Wow.
Yeesh.
Sorry.
Well, we
Yeah.
digress. No, that was good.
Continue.
But with CMC,
Digress.
his touch total last year, I want to say was a little north of 230. Let me do the math real quick. I just had the math up. So
A pick
this is
six will do that to you. You got your math ready, and then pick six. Nice.
so last season in combination with his carries and touches from the Carolina Panthers and the Niners, he has about 244 from last season. Coming into this season, he's at 137. 137 by week 8. 137 carries, my bad. Got 137 carries. But I did the math on that. Over a 17-game span, bro is on pace to have about 290 carries. 290 carries.
It's like prime Zeke workload right
That's
there.
the Shanahan special right there. Run your star to the ground.
Dude,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. We'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Yeah.
But that is the closest he's ever gotten. This is the closest he's ever gotten to his touch total in 2019, which was 287. And that was his best season where he had 1,300 yards rushing. And so like the ground is set. He is going to be probably maintain his number 1 position throughout the season. God forbid anything happens. But other than that, man, the dude is lights out. He's my fantasy MVP.
I want to go back to your pick real quick, because what's different about your pick than these two picks is that people are not drafting Travis Etienne or Etienne. I say Etienne. People are drafting CMC and Tyreek in the top 6 to be this kind of player.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What Travis is doing, you're getting that value in like the 3rd round, maybe like late 2nd round, early 3rd round. That's almost more impressive than what Tyreek and CMC. I know obviously it's really impressive, all 3, but getting that value in a 3rd round draft pick, that's different.
It is. Yeah. That's why he's been such a surprise. And like you had said, which was a great point, there was no talk about him being a workhorse going into the year. And then all of a sudden he's just kind of grown into this role, and now he's absolutely killing it. So, but yeah, that's it for our MVP offense. So let's just go category by category since we're here.
Yeah.
Let's go to defense. I'll start us off. My MVP of the defensive IDPs is not a linebacker, not a D end. Mine's going to be a DB, Mr. Cam Bynum, Filipino pride.
I didn't know he was a rookie. I didn't know he was a rookie.
No, he's not a rookie.
Oh, wait, no. Sorry. My mind's in another. Sorry.
He's still doing the math.
Yeah, he is. He's worried about the pick six, the math.
I thought we were on rookie. My bad.
No, you're good. So, yeah, my defensive MVP so far this year for fantasy is Cam Bynum. He's the number 1 DB. He's been putting up points on points, tons of tackles, good turnover ratios. Let me pull up that turnover for us since we're on that subject. He's got a sack. Oh, I'm sorry. Sack, forced fumble. He's got complete stats. He has total tackles. He has 76 so far through 8 games. Yeah, that's insane for a DB.
That's big time.
He's on track for 152. Quick math. 152 if he played 16 games. So, and I know we're doing 17, but yeah. So Cam Bynum for me, not only is he repping the PI, but he's balling. He's the number 1 DB in the league right now. He's averaging 12.1 points if you're in standard. If you're in our league, 121 points. And the crazy thing is he's only rostered in 45% of the leagues, and at least on ESPN, which is wild. Wild.
He single-handedly ruined the 49ers a couple weeks ago. He had 2 picks, and that's a nice sleeper pick right there.
Yep.
That's a really nice sleeper pick.
Yep. So that's my MVP for defense. Scanny, let's go to you.
There can only be one. The battle for the premier IDP linebacker week by week. This man and I go back and forth between 2 guys, and I'm going to highlight the first one, who is a Scanny Nation pride, Scanny Nation member, and it's Foyesade Oluokun. He is all over the field on every single play. They run left, he's gone. If they run right, he's gone. He's in coverage. He had a pick 6 2 weeks ago. The man is everywhere. I'm just going to throw his tackle numbers out there. And mind you, almost 90% of these are solo tackles. 13, 10, 14, 9, 6, 15, 14, 11. He's giving you double digits every single week in and week out. Like I said about Tyreek, he's a guy you can plug in, and you just know you're going to get at the minimum in our scoring like 125, 150 at the minimum. And he's got the upside to give you he gave me 245 a couple weeks ago in that 14 tackle
pick six.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, he's unreal, man.
Yeah, no,
he really is.
He's a different breed. So I'm gonna stick with my man Foyesade Oluokun.
Much respect to it.
Beautiful.
Much respect to it. To advance this conversation, like you said, there's two dogs at the top of the league right now when it comes to the middle linebacker position, and I have the other one, who is Zaire Franklin. Zaire Franklin, to give some context onto his role, he filled in for Shaquille Leonard last season when Shaquille Leonard was going through back injuries. And so being able to have that starting role and really command this defense, he has taken full force and he has taken the driver's seat of that defense. That is his defense. He's averaging about 14 points in standard scoring for our league, about 145 points. And dude, he is a tackle monster. He's a ball hawk. He is everywhere across the field at all times. When it comes to this man's numbers, his tackle numbers, I mean, they're on par with Oluokun. And I don't have a 245 week to present to you, but his highest scoring was about 197. He had 17 tackles and a forced fumble. But if you want to take a look into his tackle totals, he has had one game this year where he hasn't had at least 11 tackles. Every other game, he has had 11 tackles or more, which I don't understand how this man is making it happen. From someone that's played the position, and to get that many consistently week in and week out, there's a reason why he is where he is, and there's a reason why he's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. Yeah,
for sure. No, I mean, Foyesade and Zaire are just on a crazy pace. And those guys, if you watch the games, they'll go sideline to sideline. They're on every single check down. They're on every single run play. They're getting back in coverage, making tackles. It's just insane the amount of levels where they make tackles. They're just machines, man, and they hunt.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason. Like, you're not just getting 11 tackles or more just from being a run stopper. Like, that comes from multiple facets of the game, and they're just everywhere on the field. So, hey, three solid. I mean, and three guys that are pretty much leading their categories in tackles. So.
And that
can't argue with that.
Last thing, the crazy thing is that, like, when it comes to those two, they could even have a bad first half. They could a bad first half.
It takes them one drive.
A bad first half for a linebacker is if you get less than 5 tackles in the first half. Like, if you don't have at least 5 heading into halftime, then it's looking a little bleak. But like Zaire or Foyesade could have like 3 or 4 tackles going into halftime, and then they can just go rack it up for another 8. And it's miraculous. It's crazy. Yep. Also, shout out to you because you really nailed down the pronunciation of Foyesade's name.
I tried. I've said that name so many times.
If you're a fantasy manager, you got to know how to say them.
Yes,
you just got to.
Indeed.
So. But let's move on to the next one. This one's not so much, shining lights. It's more of a little doom and gloom, but we might as well touch on it because it's a key part of fantasy. Mm-hmm. Most disappointing so far. Mm-hmm. Let's start on the offensive side. And for me, I'm going to start on somebody I had a ton of stock in. Maybe not in our main league that we always talk about, but in many of my other leagues and people I gave advice to, I will say I dropped the ball on this one. I had a ton of stock in Mr. Alexander Mattison. I thought with Dalvin Cook leaving town, he was going to have a breakout year. He's going to have a workhorse type of role, maybe close to 20 touches a game, and be somebody who would be in the top 10 of the running backs. And so far, he's been absolutely the opposite of that. He's had a couple days that have been saved by some TDs that are maybe in some garbage time, maybe not really done much, but Mattison so far. And I think the biggest thing for me that was really disappointing was his lack of contribution on the passing game. Because when Dalvin was there and he would fill in for him, or even he was the third down back when Dalvin was there.
Right.
That was primarily where he was getting most of his points and touches from, was the receiving end. And then when he would fill in for Cook when Dalvin was injured, he would be a dual threat running back, somebody who would put up points constantly. And so I think just overall the whole year, it's been really disappointing to see Mattison not be what at least I thought he was going to be going into this year.
He's been hard to watch, man. I'm telling you, I'm as a Madison owner in fantasy.
Yeah.
Just watching the Cam Akers rushing at yards and rushing attempts and targets pile up and pile up and pile up. It kind of seems like there's a change in terms of the depth chart happening in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah, Madison is very much a touchdown or bust kind of guy.
Yeah. And especially with Akers getting the first running back rushing touchdown for
Brutal.
the Vikings
That's crazy.
this week.
Brutal.
8 weeks in.
8 weeks.
8 weeks in. And they were the
Brutal.
last team, of course, to score a rushing touchdown. But, man, that's crazy. Dude, Gibbs is eating.
Gibbs,
Good Lord.
get there.
Did y'all see the play
Close.
before that one-handed catch by Craig Reynolds though?
No, I didn't see
That
that.
was hard.
I
Oh
didn't.
my god.
I
He ran a swing route and then they threw it to his outside shoulder in front of him. He just said, "Mwah," and then kept going. He said, "Mwah."
Get that ball, the kid.
Let me keep it again.
So, most disappointing from Scanny. Let's hear it.
This is the guy that I'm going to read the numbers first and give you a little context because you're going to be like, that doesn't sound that disappointing. The standard scoring leagues, 19 points, 16, 13, 7, 6, 14, and 6. Had a couple of boomer bust weeks in there, but not terrible. We talk about the kind of guys you draft to be an MVP candidate, and this is one of those guys who in fantasy, you expect a big year from this guy.
Yeah.
Especially with his counterpart, Ezekiel Elliott, leaving. Tony Pollard, he has not been that guy this year.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to, he obviously has some, hand in the passing game, but I'm going to read his rushing numbers. 14 for 70, 25 for 72, which is less than 3 yards carry. 23 for 122, that's a good game. We have 29 yards, 30 yards, and 53 yards. That's pretty brutal as a top-tier running back.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
luckily, he's gotten in the end zone a couple times, which has salvaged some of his numbers. But in terms of his ADP and the production you got, this is a really, really big disappointment for the Cowboys. They've been winning despite this. But this is fantasy, baby. We don't care how you do on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the biggest point for you, and this is why you bring him up as most disappointing, where he was drafted and the expectations he had. Because Madison's one where we kind of were predicting. Pollard was like, we've seen what he can do when
Right.
Zeke's not there. This will be a year where he has a huge output. And the production that he's been given so far is somebody that you would draft in like the 5th or 6th round.
Right.
Maybe like a running back, low end running back 2. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, it's been a disappointing year for him so far, and it's been a strange year for Dallas Cowboys all around. It's
Yeah, it
like
is.
certain weeks only one player goes off. It's like Dak has a good game, CD has a decent game, or he just had a blow up game. Pollard has a good, like none of them are all like together having a great game all at once. So it's
Right.
strange years for the Cowboys altogether, but yeah, definitely for Pollard as well. But
Yeah, for the Cowboys, like when the highs are high, they hit. But when the lows are lows, they also hit. So it's
Yeah.
just like,
and it hits more than
Yeah.
the highs do.
A little update on the game real quick, not to cut you off.
Was
but
that a
we
fumble?
We had a fumble by Craig Reynolds at the 2-yard line.
After I
Wow.
gave him flowers for the catch.
And this is why we gave the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
This is why.
Give it to the guy, the 5'9" guy.
This is why.
This is why.
Right.
Oh man.
Who you got for us, Will?
But yes, as we go for my offensive disappointment this season, let me pull up his numbers. I have too many tabs open, bro.
Lock in, baby. Lock in.
I know. But my candidate for most underwhelming offensive player of the year is going to have to be, and I love this guy because I got to meet him in real life, and it's no shade, but it's just, dog, your numbers aren't there. And it's probably not you, maybe the situation, but Najee Harris has been very underwhelming this season. The entire Pittsburgh offense, I would say, has been very underwhelming. So this is when I say, like, could be a situation thing, but as I hear people in the league, analysts kind of talking about his performance, they take into account the factors of, maybe he tried to put on some more weight this season. He's looking beefier. He's looking bigger. Obviously, if you're in the league, you have to be big. And I've seen this man in real life. You've seen him. This man is a unit.
He's a big fella.
He is a big boy. So I'm like, wow. And that was at the beginning, before the season even started, like back in April. So I'm sure he's put on some weight since then, but his numbers just have not been, it's just not very impressive. So his numbers this year, I want to say he's He has 84 carries. He only has 300 yards rushing, 313
Yeah, that's
yards.
insane.
It's like
That's
2.7 a carry.
And you know what? I mean, certainly he has some parts to do with that, but man, that offensive line gets no push for him. Dude.
No,
they play a
none.
big part into that as well. They've been brutal this year.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, man. He got his first touchdown of the year last week. I believe when they I think it was last week. I think it was when they played Houston. But he only has one touchdown on the year. So that's like, dude, like he was a first round draft pick, dog.
Yeah.
Like for that type of productivity.
Pause for a second. We got a live call from Cleet Blakeman here. Stands is called. It is a fumble. Raiders luck. They're gonna have a safety here in a second. But let's get back to Najee.
Yes. Yeah, dude.
But yeah,
Najee,
just
he's
disappointing year so far,
yeah,
man.
running back 33 on the year, averaging 7.4 points in standard scoring. Like he's not even rostered that high, which this is kind of crazy to me. He's 88%. I mean, it's a good percentage, but when it comes to a starting running back for any team, really, because this running back value in the market is so scarce.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's not even rostered that high, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And just like I said, false start to start the drive at the 2-yard line for the Raiders.
A little side note: Max Crosby forced that fumble. I went to a event in the Bay. I went to a Halloween event out here in the Bay Area last night called the Pirates of Emerson.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
If Max Crosby ever finds himself looking for a job, if he finds his way off the Raiders somehow, I promise you they'll hire you. I promise you don't even need to do anything. You just show up.
Right.
You can wear a hoodie and
he's like
jeans.
Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball.
Yeah. So
but he actually looks the part.
Yeah, Max.
Ooh,
If you find yourself watching this, I promise you, Pirates of Emerson is out there in Pleasanton at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
You need a
Easy job application. You don't even
got
need to fill it out.
Hey, God, just send a selfie. You're hired.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on down to Pleasanton, California. Because that's an appealing job offer.
That's what they sound like in Pleasanton.
That's what they sound like.
That's definitely what they sound like.
All the Kirk Cousins out there.
Well, let's flip the side of the ball, or flip to the other side of the ball is what I mean. And let's talk about most disappointing defensive player. We already highlighted one of the best defensive players in Zaire Franklin. I'm going to highlight the guy whose role he took.
Coming off his best week this season.
Mr. Darius Shaq Leonard.
No, it's Shaq. It's
Darius
Shaq.
Leonard.
Darius
That
was
was his
nice.
Darius
was nice.
Darius was a fleet legend.
I drafted Shaq. I don't know who that
Scanny
Shaq
got
is.
Shaq Leonard.
Yeah, no, don't. It ain't Darius Leonard. This is Shaq Leonard.
So I'm going to highlight him just because he's had so many injuries over the year. And I think that this last year with the back injury and everything else that he was banged up with, I think it really took a toll on him. And with Zaire, oh my Lord.
Devontae with a
Did he get laid out?
Dude,
drop. No, he
that
just
was
dropped
kind
it.
of a
The
bad
throw was
pass,
behind,
too.
the throw was at his back ankle, but he'd tell you got to bring that one in.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he's got to catch that.
4th and 4 coming up. Little game, 16-14 Lions, 4th down and 4. Right back into Shaq Leonard real quick.
So yeah, Shaq's just been disappointing. He's lost snaps, not doing the same production, and in terms of what he should have caught that.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad.
He should have caught that.
It wasn't as bad as a throw as we thought it was.
Yeah, he's got to catch that.
Yeah,
but in terms of the player that he used to be, he's a shell of himself in terms of a fantasy aspect. So for me, most disappointing because I've rostered him for many years, and he was somebody who I could really rely on, plug and play, and never worry about.
Yep.
And he's become somebody who you do not play at all. So that was a huge hit.
That was and you watch this back, you're gonna see. I said, "Oh my god, oh my
so
god."
most disappointing
Like a car
IDP.
accident.
Let's pass it over to Scanny Nation.
IDP disappointment is a sad thing. I'm going through it right now. Like I said, I got Shaq Leonard, and I wanted to pick him, but you've been a Darius owner your whole life pretty much in fantasy, so you got him. I'm gonna go with somebody that hurts me also because he's a 49er. And he's the former DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. And he's just been a little bit underwhelming. Last season, there was so many moments during the year that a key moment in the game, 3rd down and 2, late game situation, Nick Bosa come running. And Nick Bosa's making plays.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa strip sack. Nick Bosa picks somebody off. This year, and this is something that happens to a lot of relevant defensive linemen, Aaron Donald is like the key guy to think about. You have these years of dominance, and it comes to a point where the other team is just basically like, let's just stop him and let everybody else eat. So he's seeing double teams and different looks. So it's not fully on Nick Bosa. He's getting thrown a gauntlet, but he's just not been the game wrecker from both a fantasy perspective and a football perspective. And hopefully, as a Niner fan, and Will and I both feel this, going through a little bit of a rough patch right now. Your best players are the ones that can get you out of those rough times. Hopefully we see guys like Nick Bosa, Drake Greenlaw, guys that we've said have been underwhelming, perform to that level and kind of pull us out of the mud here. Because 3 straight losses and Brock Purdy, the noise is getting louder.
Yep. Like you said, gets more attention, and not only that, but maybe a little bit of a contract hangover. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get paid like that, sometimes you feel set because you are set. And so,
just like a Daniel Jones.
His deal is his deal.
Talk about maybe the worst comparison you could have made in terms of player quality.
I'm just talking about
but I get what
man.
you're saying, though, about the
Is
contract.
that Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito? Can't really tell.
Tommy or Danny?
Right. Same thing.
Fancy, let's see what you got, baby.
All right. So when it comes to my most I can't talk today. My most disappointing defensive player.
You got there.
There we go.
You got there.
Sentences.
Let's clap it up for Fancy here. Hey, come on.
Thank you.
Slap, slap, slap.
Wow, Bobby. My bad. Okay.
Dude, what a callback.
Are you going to finish that croissant?
That was great.
Ooh, okay. We digress. The person that I am going to pick as most disappointing defensive player, and it's kind of a thorn in my side. I don't want to do this because he is also a 49er. I got to say it's Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw. Now, for his average points in his position rank, it is not absurd. He averages about 9.4 points in standard scoring, and he is currently ranked linebacker number 24. So within the top 25, respectively for our league format, we have about 4 linebackers for each team. So being in that top 25, being in near that top 20 range actually shows that they're a pretty good linebacker. But coming from his season total last year, when it comes to tackles, he had his career high with 127 tackles. This year, he still can make that mark if he has a better second half of the year, but he has 55 tackles so far, 41 solo. But just seeing the tackle machine that he was last year, it's going to be kind of hard to, kind of meet those expectations of where he was. But his health also plays a role into it. He missed a couple games. He's missed 1 game so far. So we'll see. But as of late, like his counterpart who we'll flesh out a little bit later, Fred Warner has been having a career year, if we're being completely honest, not in terms of tackles, but being an all-around linebacker and coverage, run stopping, everything. So hopefully better days are ahead for Dre Greenlaw. It's all love. I met the guy. He's a really cool dude. So I'm really hoping for better days for him.
Me too. As a 49er fan, I feel you. Me too.
That was a perfect pause.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, you pretty much covered it all. So let's move right on to the next one.
Yep.
Most surprising so far, and this is somebody who I don't think a lot of people saw coming into the year from the offensive side. And I'm going to go in a position that really needs some more spotlight when it comes to fantasy. I'm going to go tight end position. I'm going to go Sam Laporta, who we're actually watching tonight and has a touchdown, having another solid game. Sam Laporta adding some much needed spotlight, some value, some shine to that tight end position that we so needed in terms of fantasy, because you got Mark Andrews, you got Kelsey, and now it's basically Sam Laporta's in there.
Especially with Hawkinson losing Kirk Cousins now. We'll see how that affects him.
Yeah, Hawkinson as well. But, for the rest of the year, Sam Laporta is easily number 2 or number 3 in the tight end rankings behind Kelsey. So good for Sam Laporta coming out. And, he's got a quarterback in Jared Goff. Wow.
Oh,
go,
wow.
go.
Game over.
Wow.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Game over.
Any flags? No flags.
Jahmyr Gibbs has just won the game.
Don't
for
you give me that.
No. I'm going to give it to you.
Don't you give me that reverse.
Just because
Wow.
we've got a pandemic
so
in our
toxic.
league. We've got a pandemic in our league. Every time we try to be somewhat wholesome, it's like we're jinxing them. We're being reverse psychology. No. That's a huge play. Your odds were already at 80%. And he just got a 30-yard touchdown run. That's a
Jahmyr
huge
Gibbs,
play. The
updated
game's
score.
likely over.
Scanny leads by 190.
Yeah, the game's likely over, which is fine. But yeah, no, I mean Gibbs, wow,
Dude, Gibbs.
coming out party here 2 weeks in a row,
Big
over
time.
over 200 now.
I think he's at 219.
Yeah, back-to-back
he's-
weeks now, right?
he
Over
was-
200.
He was at 233
Wow.
last week.
Wow, that's
Wow.
huge.
You know what led to that? The Devontae drop.
Yeah.
Full circle moment here
It's
on
all
Backyard
momentum.
Dynasty.
It's all about momentum.
Wow. Gibbs.
Well, so Sam Laporta, big blow up for me. Blowout. That's what I was gonna say. Big blowout. Big blowout. So let's go to
balling.
fancy
He's
this time.
balling.
Who you got for your most surprising offensive player?
My most surprising offensive player of the year, man. This one even caught me by surprise because this individual, he's someone. This person. His name I heard maybe twice within the offseason. Coming up into the draft, doing my studying, and I was kind of like, who is this guy? You know, people were talking high on him, and I'm like, okay, with the rookie quarterback coming in, let's see what he can do. But he is blown away with my expectations, and he's a bit boomer bust, but when he booms. Good God. The man I'm talking about is Nico Collins. Boom. Boom.
Sus moments here on the
little bit.
Backyard
You know what I'm
Dynasty
saying? With
pod.
conviction, you
Big
know?
blowout and big booms.
But man, this dog is booming. Nico Collins, wide receiver for
Bro.
the Houston Texans. His current position rank is wide receiver 14. He averages about 13 points per game. He's rostered in about 88% of leagues, so that's pretty good. But to give you a kind of a look into his numbers, this is the type of boom or bust I'm talking about. Week 1, 110, 11 points in standard scoring. Pretty cool. So week 2 goes off for 231, 23 points in standard scoring. Then he drops off at 4.4 for the following week. Then when he plays Pittsburgh, he goes off for another 30 piece. Next week, 50. The week after, 122. It is so boom or bust. And so, you know, he's one of those guys, and you'll notice this when with Fancy Sons, like I'm big on boom. I get boomer bust guys. Like my most notable boomer bust guy, Mike Williams. When it comes to Mike Williams, you just got to ride the train. And when he booms, he booms. When he doesn't, he doesn't. That's the same case when it comes to Nico Collins with CJ Stroud in the backfield, really airing that thing out. Like front runner probably for offensive rookie of the year. It's Nico. It's a bright future for Nico and this Texans offense. So he's definitely caught me by surprise.
Alrighty.
You want Rashid Shaheed?
Rashid.
You want
Right.
It's Rashid. It's
Right. Well, let's hear what Scanny's got.
My surprising players for this season, the entire Miami Dolphins running back room. Everybody. The entire room. Every
Right.
single player.
Yeah. That's down to
Raheem-
Ahmed.
Yeah, it's down to Salvon Ahmed. Raheem Mostert, 31 years old. I mean, this guy's scoring 4 touchdowns. He's scoring 3 touchdowns. He's everywhere.
Mhm.
He has cooled off a little bit the last couple weeks. I mean, what? This team has so many weapons. Devon Achane, who is now on IR, he'll be back in week 11. He's a rookie. Four touchdowns in a game.
Yeah.
He's busting out 75-yard runs like it's nothing.
Yeah.
This team is so unbelievably fast. They are so fast. That and we know coming into the season, I don't think a single person talked about the Miami Dolphins running backs.
Yeah.
You talk about Waddle. You talk about Tyreek Hill. You talk
Yep.
about Tua. You talk about concussions. You ain't talking about running backs.
Yeah.
And yeah, this team, it's getting a little murky because Jeff Wilson's back in the picture and Ahmed's getting a couple carries a game and Mostert's not producing the exact same level he was a few weeks ago. And you have Achane coming back, but week to week, you're looking at potentially, especially when Achane's back, one running back from the Dolphins being in the top 5 every week.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago, Achane and Mostert were literally 2 and 3 behind CMC. So that running back room has just wrecked fantasy, and they're my surprise.
Yeah.
Well-
Definitely a surprise.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like you said, I think the biggest point is that nobody was talking about them. And now
Nobody.
they're relevant every single week
Mhm.
from a fantasy standpoint. So, but let's move to the other side of the ball. For my most surprising, I got somebody who was often overshadowed by Mr. CJ Mosley, who is a great linebacker in itself. But for me, the most surprising, I've got Quincy Williams, the other guy next to him in the New York Jets linebacking room. And talk about a guy.
Talk about
Talk about a
Talk about a guy. Here's a guy that goes east and west with the best of them. And he is a tackle machine, and he is a hunter, man. When you see him out there, he tackles and pursues with violence. And so he's somebody that I think will eventually take over what C.J. Mosley will leave there, and I think he'll eventually be that captain of that defense. And he's just somebody who's been putting up absolute stats this year. Quincy Williams, so far, the number 5 linebacker in our league. He's averaging 13.5 points. He's got, if you pull up the complete stats, so far this year, 7 games played, 71 tackles for Quincy Williams.
Solid.
That's a ridiculous pace. That is a ridiculous pace. So for
defense,
me,
man.
Quincy, the whole defense is solid, but in terms of their breakout player, for me, it's Quincy Williams, no doubt. So that's who I've got for the defensive. Let's go to Scanny and see who you got for your most surprising defensive player.
Well, I'm going to keep it with a Q, and I'm going Quay Walker. And he's honestly been, like, if there is such a thing as a boom or bust linebacker, he's kind of been that. I'm going to just take you through the tackle numbers. First week against Chicago, he had 4 tackles, but he did have a pick 6, so he salvaged his fantasy day. 17 tackles, 7 tackles, 19, 4, bye week, 5 and 10. He's giving you double digits all the time. He's giving you a couple of stinkers with 4 and 5, but again, it picks 6 to salvage it. He's been a boom player for the most part.
Yeah, especially with Devondre Campbell missing time as well.
I mean, his lowest output was 45, which isn't great, but he's given you 177 in our league scoring. He's given you 120 a couple times, 192.5. So he's been a guy you can count on mostly, and his floor is roughly around 57, 60. So Quay Walker's my guy. Big surprise.
Yeah, much respect to it. As we go ahead and go into my most surprising defensive player, my player would be, I shedded some light on him earlier, but as another homer pick, it's my boy, my favorite player in the league, Fred Warner. Fred Warner. Now, on this pod and between the three of us, we always talk about Fred Warner because when he talk about the context of football, he is a great linebacker, the best linebacker in the league. But when it comes to being good at football and being good at football for fantasy are two very different things. Fred is a linebacker. He plays sideline to sideline. He's covering wide receivers in the slot. This is how athletic this guy is. But he's not, because of how good he is, teams scheme for him to where that he can't get those tackles. And much like last season, Dre Greenlaw came in, got his season-high tackles, and was racking up all those tackles because Fred was taking on that work. But now the script is kind of flipped. And while Fred is putting up points, he's not getting like an insane amount of tackles, but because he's such a good linebacker and he plays the entire field, he salvages his days with sacks. He salvages it with forced fumbles. He salvages it with interceptions. There was a game where he literally, when he played Dallas, he had
a couple weeks ago.
Sunday night, he had 8 tackles, which is average for a linebacker. He had 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and an interception, which went ahead and brought him to his second highest total point, for a week this season. So this man's just insane.
Which honestly, if you're gonna pick a linebacker who could do that, he's probably the one who is the most skilled and probably grades out the best on PFF to be able to record a stat line like that. Right. Get your tackles and have those recordables like a sack and an interception
he's
like
so
that.
Complete.
He is. He's a complete linebacker. And I think what's funny is that I'm glad that you mentioned him on your most surprising, because I think in our early episodes we had him as stock down going into the year because of Greenlaw going into a full-time role, and because of the fact that in years past Warner's been kind of somebody who hovers around that 9 to 10 points only and doesn't really exceed that. But this year he's been really, really respectable, and he's having a great year. It also helps that the last few weeks the Niners have been on the field a lot more than usual. So when you play more snaps, you're going to record more stats. But, Warner's having a great year so far. So
real quick, this literally just popped into my head for whatever reason. I was just going through the linebackers in the league. Yeah. Just the quickest note. Shout out Ernest Jones, because he just randomly, this guy Ernest Jones from the Rams, 9 tackles, 10 tackles, 9, 10, 15, 10, 4, 8. He's been all over the field too. I was thinking about complete linebackers.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to throw that name out there.
Yeah, no, honorable mention. Then also, I think it goes without saying we should also mention Azeez Al-Shaair.
Yes.
Because we talked about stock up before the year started, and man, he's been a monster.
Nailed it.
Absolute monster. I mean, he's gone 5 straight weeks in double digits in standard and triple digits in our league. So
152.5 this week, something like that.
Something ridiculous. So he's been great. Side note, just because we're watching this game all night, and I just have to say it, Gibbs looks electric.
Dude, he looks so good.
The way he's playing tonight is unreal.
He's running football.
He has broken so many tackles. He's found every single gap, and he's gotten yards after catch on every single play. He is, and again, I know it's easy to do it and showcase yourself against the Raiders because we're that bad. But, man, the stuff that he's doing, it wouldn't matter who he's playing against, man. He's been electric tonight.
I tried trading him to Bird on Monday, but Bird had somebody in the IR slot, so he went to accept it, and it wouldn't let him do it. And then I sat on it, and I was like, damn, I'm in a position where I need a big boom kind of player to win a matchup, even if he's going to lose that role in a couple weeks. So I canceled it, but Bird literally accepted it, and he tried to accept it. And
Look, again.
God, it was going to, just so you guys know, it was going to be Gibbs, I think it was Gibbs, Aaron Jones, and an IDP for Chris Godwin, Sam Laporta, and then I think another like a low-key running back. But we literally had it accepted, and it fell through. But yeah, shout out to Gibbs.
22 for 142 and a touchdown.
And some receiving
and
work,
5 of 5 for 37 yards on receiving end. He is what he was advertised as. And another touch. Make it a 6 catch, a first down. My goodness. I mean, he's just unreal.
Dude, he's tearing the Raiders apart.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's absolutely picking us apart. And the fact that it's only a 9-point game is crazy.
Yeah.
But let's go to our last category, which is a nice one because Rookie of the Year, I feel like, doesn't get a lot of coverage in fantasy just because we're always worried about the top of the top, the elite, who's going to win you leagues. Sometimes it's those people that you take a chance on in those drafts, and you draft a rookie. You draft somebody who you don't know who their role is going to be. And for me, I'm going to have another repeat. Or just one repeat from the last category that we talked about, the most surprising. And I'm going to go Rookie of the Year offense. I'm going to go Sam Laporta. I'm going to double down on the Sam Laporta stock because for me, again, going back to the fact that he's putting a tight end name on the map in fantasy. And for him to be a rookie, and probably most people drafted him extremely late in their drafts, to get that value out of him is just unheard of. And it's invaluable when it comes to fantasy to have production like that in your tight end slot. Because if you don't get Kelsey, you can't really rely on anyone. Even the Hawkinsons and Andrews are going to have their down weeks. Laporta has been somebody who actually has a decent floor every single week and has got boom potential. And going back to the whole thing that Goff likes his tight ends, man, he shows Laporta some love week in and week out. So for me, Rookie of the Year on the offensive end in fantasy, Sam Laporta.
Dude, just to touch on that real quick, I saw a tweet a couple weeks ago. And it was a quote tweet from the original tweet of Sam Laporta being drafted from the Lions main account. And somebody said, look at the replies to this. And so I clicked on the main tweet from April or whatever the draft was.
Yeah.
And everybody in Lions Nation was tweeting, holy overdraft. Why would we get this? I think he was like a second rounder. Why would we draft him so high? Who is laughing now?
Now you know.
Who is laughing now?
Yep.
And he came from the tight end university where just all good tight ends come out, Iowa State.
Yeah.
Like the other notable tight ends that came out, George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, and now Sam Laporta, like that school cranks out tight ends.
Yep.
From one Sam to another. I'm going to kind of Ben Simmons this a little bit because he's a rookie, kind of. Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year after he got hurt and sat out an entire year. A lot of debate about that.
I was wondering where that was going. I love that, though.
I appreciate
that. That worked out good.
I knew you'd like it.
It really worked out well.
NBA stan. I knew you'd appreciate that one. Sam Howell, I know he's not technically a rookie. If you look at his, experience.
Played one game last year.
He played one game.
Yeah.
He's a rookie, goddammit.
Played one game.
He played one game.
Say it with your chest. There you go.
He's a rookie. Okay, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
He's a fucking rookie.
Yep.
He's balling. We talked about him in the last episode. He is balling. And he might be a co-owner of the Eagles at this point. I know he's 0-2 against them in a real football standpoint.
What a way to just
From a fantasy standpoint.
From a fantasy standpoint.
Very highly hypocritical statement in
God.
terms of actual football.
We just talked about him. He is the number 8 scoring quarterback. And this includes a week where he had 2 points when he threw 4 picks against the Buffalo Bills. I know you can't take away a week because it happened. But if you take that week away,
yeah, right,
he's
and
top 5.
add his average. Yep.
So yeah, Sam Howell, man, he has been unreal, and not a whole lot of goodness has come out of Washington this football season. We've had a couple of guys that have been performing. Terry's been boomer bust. Jahan Dotson finally had a week.
Yeah,
I mean, Brian Robinson not really doing a whole lot. Antonio Gibson, kind of the forgotten man in the offense.
Who?
Logan Thomas, R.I.P. I mean, like,
yeah.
So yeah, Sam Howell's been a breath of fresh air in Washington, and yeah,
That's
what you
a
got
good
for us,
call.
Will?
The offensive rookie of the year. What is it? Yes, offensive rookie of the year for me. I'm just spaced out today.
Just an absolute struggle.
Is anybody
for
in there?
fantasy here tonight.
Possibly not. My offensive rookie of the year is gonna have to be. Well, he's a true rookie. He is Jordan Addison. Drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. He honestly has been I honestly would put him above Bijan Robinson because of the productivity that he's had this season. Now, when it comes to Jordan Addison, he was another name that I just heard randomly throughout the offseason. And I'm like, who is this cat? And this dude has been balling out. Out of the 8 games that he's played this year, he has had 5 games where they have been sustainable and really impressive fantasy numbers for a rookie wide receiver. And he had his most notable performance against one of the toughest defenses in the league. And it's a thorn in my side to say this, but it was my defense. It was the San Francisco 49ers. He had a stat line of 7 for 123 and 2 touchdowns. His highest target total in the season for 10 years, for 10 targets.
That was nasty.
Yeah.
That was a nasty game for
It was
Madison.
disgusting, bro.
Yeah.
And with having him be the number 2 wide receiver with Justin Jefferson, once Minnesota figures out their quarterback situations, considering the Kirk Cousins injury, and if they get a solid quarterback, this team's going to be dangerous, bro. And with TJ Hawkinson, oh, man. But, yeah, shout out to Jordan Addison. It's Addy season, so let's ball out.
He's having a great year.
Having a great year. Wide receiver 10.
They've got a lot of receivers in Minnesota. Like, you just think about who they have: Jefferson, Addison, KJ Osborne. He's a pretty solid guy.
His name's just always been there.
Yeah.
He's always in consideration. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Backyard Dynasty family, we have reached it. The end of our lists.
And so screw the defenders, huh?
No, that's what I'm going into.
Oh, my bad.
Way to ruin the segue, bud.
I'm so sorry. I thought you were like, that's it, yo. We'll see you next week. My bad.
Let's run that back. Backyard Dynasty family, we have reached the finish line. We are at the last of our categories, the Rookie of the Year for the defensive side of the ball. Fleet is going to go with somebody who really should have been a Las Vegas Raider this year. But per usual, we mess up in the draft, and we draft somebody other than the player we should have taken, and that is Jalen Carter. The Raiders desperately needed some defensive tackle help, and they just passed on the best defensive tackle in the draft. And he has been murdering offensive lines so far this year for the Eagles. Jalen Carter has been great for the Eagles. He's really helped bolster that defensive line after they lost Javon Hargrave to the Niners. And just talk about somebody who lost a little bit of stock going into the draft just because of circumstances off the field, but somebody who has lived up exactly to what he should have been. And he's wrecking offensive game plans, wrecking offensive lines, and good for the Eagles for taking a chance on him and to replenish the player that they lost in Hargrave. He's been a monster for them. So Jalen Carter, for me, Rookie of the Year fantasy-wise for defenders.
Great. That's a great pick. I'm gonna go into somebody whose name I'm probably not going to pronounce correctly, so I'm just going to do my best here. I'm going to go with Henry To'o'oto. I don't know if that's correct. And if
White
it's wrong,
man tries to pronounce Islander name.
Sorry.
Impossible challenge.
You tried.
Henry To'ototo?
That's why I was sitting here. I'm like, okay.
You want to give it a try?
Let me see how you spell it. Let me see it. Let's all do it.
There's a lot of O's there.
There's 4
Henry
O's.
To'oto.
How you got
But what about
4
that
O's?
last O? Because there's an
To'oto.
It's a O apostrophe O. Is it a ooh? Is it Henry To'o ooh?
I think it's To'o.
It's no ooh. There's an
It's
apostrophe.
O apostrophe
Hey,
O.
shout out to Henry T.
Henry HT baby.
Let me get a good look and give me.
You gotta really observe this name. Henry.
Everybody try. I'm gonna pull it up.
To'o.
Whenever there's an apostrophe, it's a pause. So I think you're on the
Henry
right.
To'o.
To'o. Okay, go ahead. You.
To'o.
Henry To'o. That's what I'm gonna
that's
say.
actually that's I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna ask like Google to say it?
Yeah,
or
I'm
something?
gonna say it. Hold on. Let's see.
Let's
How
see,
to
let's get this.
pronounce.
Let's get this Siri.
Let's get Siri.
pronunciation. This
The
is
show
gonna
of
be funny.
tangents is back.
Oh, it's an awful website. It's not gonna be Siri.
Henry To'o.
Henry
To-
To'o.
Henry To'o.
That sounds like it.
Henry To'o.
This one
Henry
sounds like it.
To'o.
Okay. Okay.
Well, congrats.
But-
None of us were right. Go ahead. Keep going.
The Texans, they got Denzel Perryman in the mix this season, but he's been injured. He's been injured a whole lot. And Henry To'o, reel it back in, fellas. Reel it back
I feel like you had to do that for Foyesad when he first got here.
Right.
Oh, you know,
Just
I
sitting in
studied
a room,
that, yeah.
just Alua.
I was in the mirror. Foyesad, Aluakan.
Hella throaty. Just
You gotta get some.
I'm
Get
glad
some
we.
phlegm in there.
carry on. I'm sorry, Scanny.
No worries. He has really filled in well for
Yeah.
Denzel Perryman, who's missed a lot of time this season. He's got 48 tackles on the season so far. And from a fantasy perspective, he's been a guy you can plug in there, kind of stream him a little bit, especially with bye weeks coming up and whatnot.
Mhm.
He's giving you like 92, 97, somewhere in there. So yeah, Henry To'o. I don't really think a whole lot of people had a lot of buzz on him coming into the season because I had never heard of him until I submitted a waiver claim for him back in week 3. So shout out to HT. So let's go HT. That sounds
Yeah.
a little. Yeah, let's go
Little
HT.
Henry T.
Yeah, who you got for us?
Henry T. My defensive rookie of the year is going to have to be, this is a division rival from my home team, the San Francisco 49ers. But this man has been balling out, and he was a top 5 draft pick this year. So that just shows the value that he has. It is going to be Devin Witherspoon, cornerback from Illinois. He was drafted, like I said, first round. And he was the 5th pick by the Seahawks. And I believe that's the pick that they acquired from the Broncos when they traded Russell Wilson. So they flipped that pick into a star corner, and he has been lights out this season. He has, for a corner, now keep in mind this is for a corner, he has 33 total tackles. Not a lot of corners like to get in there and, stop the run. But he's young, he's spry, and he's had, to build off of that, he's had 25 solo tackles. So I think that his 25 of those have been solo. Corners don't like contact. Let's be real. Like some come to it, but I think the only other corner I think that would actually like contact is probably like Marshawn Lattimore. That's the last person I've seen come in and really get some hits. But he
Jalen Ramsey's a big hitter too.
Jalen Ramsey, he is.
He lay
is.
the stick.
He do.
That's like a Madden. There's a Madden reference there.
He laid a
bro.
stick.
That was instant. That was natural too. I didn't even think about it.
I was like, oh, okay.
Us moments continue.
Holy lordy.
But yeah, this man is ridiculous. I think he's had a pick six this year as well. 8 passes defensed on the year, and he's only look. I think he's only allowed 97 yards of receiving allowed on him this year. For 8 games as a rookie,
Damn.
Is that really? Damn.
That's what it says here. He's like his yards. So like that's how many yards that he's allowed to be thrown on him. 97. That's the way I'm reading
average though, right?
that. No, but next to his average is 97 as well.
True.
But like
We'll have to look that up, but damn, that's impressive if that's true.
actually,
That's interception
I'm
yards.
reading that wrong because that's
I think he had
the
a
yardage he had on his pick
I
six.
think he had a 97 yard
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
97 yard pick six.
I'm
My
like, bro,
apologies.
that's like 8 yards.
That's like godly.
10 yards a
Yeah.
game. What you
That's
mean?
all good though.
Yeah.
But something to add to your point though, because you said 33 tackles, and I think one of the biggest things for rookie cornerbacks is that they are always getting targeted. So you'll see rookie cornerbacks actually have a lot of tackles usually, a lot more than that.
Raider moment.
so-
Raider moment.
Oh my!
This was the most. I'm so sorry to put. This is the most Raider moment I've ever seen in my life. This kickoff was almost like a squib, and the return man touched it at the 2. It deflected off his foot, rolled back into the end zone, so we had to go get it. He got it out to like the 1 yard line and got tackled for nearly a safety. That is the most Raider moment I've seen.
Oh, that was
Oh
almost
my
a
goodness.
touchdown. Wow.
Hey, they say Raiders gonna Raider, right?
If the Lions got down there any faster, oh my God, that was a touchdown.
Look at the pain of this man's face. I've seen scarecrows this month that look happier than you.
Raiders going Raider.
Got a line
But
down.
let's just finish this point really quick though, because I think it's something to really note. Rookie cornerbacks get targeted a lot, so usually they'll have a ton of tackles because they're giving up a ton of receptions. The fact that he has 33, which is respectable, but the fact that it's so low for a rookie cornerback, I think speaks to how quality he is because they're choosing to not target him as much, and he's not giving up as much. So shout out to Devin Witherspoon because he's having a great debut year, and to be taken at number 5 and live up to it the way he has, I think it's a great pick from you, Fancy. So that will finish up our mid-season awards, mid-season fantasy awards.
We're almost there, boys.
Yeah.
We're almost there. It's
Almost
almost
there.
to fantasy playoff time, which is
Sad.
crazy.
Sad. It makes me
It
sad.
is sad. It is sad. We're almost there, but it's been a great season so far. It's been enjoyable. A lot of ups
been
and
fun.
downs, a lot of surprises and things along that nature. So, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. That's another episode of Backyard Dynasty with your hosts Fleet, Fancy, and Scanny. That is the mid-season awards. We will catch you guys on the next one. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. All the socials, we'll put them down in the description below. But for all three of us, you guys have a good one. Peace.
See ya.
Raiders going Raider, huh? A bomb.
That was good.
Oh
That
my
was good
God,
stuff.
dude.
That was a 92-yard house call.
That actually would have been a house call.
Yeah. That was good stuff, boys.